Hey, Bloomington Normal, and welcome back to Speechless on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. Everybody, do I have quite the show for you. I got a wisdom tooth out last week to start off. Pride Month just began. Happy Pride, everybody. Bud Light continues to lose. Taylor Swift lights up Chicago. All this and more this week on Speechless, and I'm your host, Kev Phares. Thank you guys so much for tuning in this week to Speechless on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. Like I said, I am your host, Kev Phares, and before we start, I got to say thank you to everybody who continues to listen to not only my show, but to David Paul Blumenshine show before mine, El Donzo D's, Conservative Cat, The Morning Buzz, all of our local talent. They do such a great job, and that's why we're trying to continuously expand our reach. We are on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Rumble. I'm even on Twitch for any of the younger generation out there. And a lot of that is because we want to make sure that we can expand the message. But the thanks also goes to my good friend, Paul Garcia Productions. Today's episode is brought to you by Paul Garcia Productions out of Normal, Illinois. Paul Garcia Productions creates stunning and effective videos and commercials for Central Illinois businesses. Visit paulgarciaproductions.com to learn more and help your business get more business. I know he just did a great commercial for Fairbury Furniture. I'm sure that'll be up soon. Everybody, my show is brought to you by Paul Garcia Productions. If you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, or any of our other places, in the description of the video, you can find his link and his YouTube. Definitely go check out Paul Garcia Productions today. But now let's get right into it, guys. We have to do a Bud Light update, right? It's Pride Month, and back in late April, or around in April, Bud Light wanted to do Pride Month all the way back then. And so continuously, Bud Light has continued to lose. So we're going to start off. I have a bunch of different stories just checking in on how Bud Light is doing. To start off, Bud Light parent company Anheuser-Busch's stock has lost over $27 billion over Dylan Mulvaney. This is out of the New York Post. Bud Light maker Anheuser-Busch InBev has lost a whopping $27 billion in market value in the wake of its star-crossed partnership with Dylan Mulvaney. Most recently, they were slammed by a 4% stock drop. This stock is headed towards an official bear market, a 20% drop as the boycott continues. What's even more interesting is Bud Light could actually lose its, well, not just Bud Light, Anheuser-Busch and Budweiser, Bud Light, the brand, could lose its title as being the quote-unquote king of beers. In fact, Bud Light could be toppled from its spot as the king of beers by Modelo after sales have plunged 25.7%. This is a boycott unlike any other. And there's been a lot of people saying a lot of different things about it. But one person that's not allowed to talk about it is the VP who made the decision to bring on Dylan Mulvaney. Out of the Daily Mail, Bud Light marketing VP who lost her job over $26 billion Dylan Mulvaney mistake is tight-lipped about her outside of her $8 million Central Park home. As her friend says, quote, she can't talk about it. So the Daily Mail tried to approach Alyssa Heinerschneid, which is the person who made this whole decision for Dylan Mulvaney to be an influencer with Anheuser-Busch. And the friend said of Alyssa, of the VP, said that she's unable to talk about the disaster. She took a, quote, leave of absence shortly after the company started to hemorrhage money following the backlash. And honestly, it is unclear as to whether or not this VP is even working with Anheuser-Busch anymore, because she's not saying anything. And is that Anheuser-Busch that's keeping her quiet? Is that herself personally wanting to keep it quiet? Is it the Alphabet Mafia? No one knows. No one knows what's keeping her quiet. But one thing is for sure, her decision has led to the century's biggest losses for any of the brands that we've seen due to a boycott in the 21st century. It is absolutely fascinating to see what is going on. And in fact, Bud Light, despite in some ways trying to detract itself from the Dylan Mulvaney situation, continues to send mixed messages. Out of the New York Post this week, Bud Light donates $200,000 to an LGBTQ plus group, sending mixed signals after woke fiasco. Bud Light said this week in a statement it will donate $200,000 to an LGBTQ nonprofit. Bud Light said this week it will extend its partnership with the National LGBT Chamber of Commerce to, quote, continue supporting economic opportunities and advancement for LGBTQ plus Americans and business owners across the country. The Tuesday statement goes on to say the Bud Light parent company Anheuser-Busch quote, has a strong track record of industry leadership in supporting the LGBTQ plus community. This isn't about supporting the LGBTQ community. It's a lot bigger than that. Actually, Megyn Kelly outlined it pretty simply. That's what I'm saying. So it's not just about the LGBTQ community for us. Like we don't honestly, I don't really care about brands that might support the LGB. Change your logo to a rainbow. I don't really care. See how it plays out in the Middle East. See if it works there. Probably not going to do very well, but do it. I don't really care. What it's really about is perpetuating a lie. It's a lot more about the transgender ideology that allows for men to parade around as women and culturally appropriate women. See, I saw a post on Instagram the other day. I thought it was hilarious. Why does the left have no problem with men pretending to be women, but God forbid your kid wants to be play cowboys and Indians on Halloween, right? Right? It's hypocrisy at its finest. But again, it's a lot bigger than just than having a brand support the LGBTQ plus community. Megyn Kelly this week came out in a statement that said on her podcast that drinking Bud Light is like, quote, giving a middle finger to women. Drinking a can of Bud Light is akin to giving a middle finger to women due to the brand becoming, quote, uncool after its disastrous marketing partnership with controversial transgender social media influencer Dylan Mulvaney, according to Megyn Kelly. On her show, she said a slew of quotes, including, they have no way out of the boycott. They've made it so uncool and a middle finger to women to have a Bud Light. Kelly said, citing recent figures showing a steady decline, a massive decline in sales of beer. Quote, people are openly shaming the brand, she said. People are looking at you funny if you order the beer. And this is true. Look, I love going out and indulging in having a beer or two. And if you have a Bud Light, people are making a little joke, pointing, laughing. It has become a staple of the brand. I've said it on past YouTube videos and stuff, that basically what happened is as soon as this Dylan Mulvaney thing came out, all of the people that originally, all of like your more rednecks, frat boys, the people that were really drinking Bud Light, they all said, if you order that or if you buy that, you might be a little gay. And so simultaneously, all the rednecks and all the frat boys said, you know what? I'm drinking Modelo. I'm drinking PBR. I'm drinking Coors, anything but that, right? And it's gotten so bad that even brands that Bud Light and Anheuser-Busch owned are now trying to distance themselves as much as possible. One, in fact, even bought itself back. So Bud Light's parent company sells off a beer brand in wake of the Dylan Mulvaney scandal. This is out of Breitbart. Two cousins, Nathan Kleishek and Chris Zieber, are co-founders of North Carolina's Appalachian Mountain Brewery. And they're the first craft brewers to, quote, ever buy themselves back from Anheuser-Busch. The brewery was sold in 2018 to Portland, Oregon-based the Craft Brew Alliance. And 3 years ago, Anheuser-Busch InBev purchased the remainder of the Craft Brew Alliance for $220 million. Popular beers from the Appalachian Mountain Brewery include Longleaf IPA, Boone Creek Blonde, and Mystic Dragon Cider. This May, the North Carolina Brewery brought home 2 medals. These are award-winning beers. And they were under the Anheuser-Busch brand. They were bought because they were so good. They were bought by the Anheuser-Busch brand. But now the cousins that founded it, Appalachian Mountain Brewing Company, are buying themselves back, taking their business back because it's just not worth it to be a part of, whether that's a financial decision or a social decision. They just don't see it as worth it to be a part of the Anheuser-Busch brand anymore. The brewery said in a statement it will be focusing on opening a tap room in Mills River, North Carolina, and, quote, continuing our investment in sustainability and philanthropy efforts that make a difference in our North Carolina communities. So even these brands, even brands that are associated, they don't want to be a part of Anheuser-Busch anymore. This is a boycott unlike anything I have ever seen, and we just got to keep it up. I feel like I beat a dead horse when I keep talking about Bud Light, and I get it. It might sound annoying that that's a lot of what people are talking about, but it is so important that we keep up with it and that we actually send a message to all these other woke companies that want to try to push anti-truth messaging such as this. Everybody, if you're just tuning in, you are listening to Speechless with Kev Phares on Cities 92.9. I am the aforementioned Kev Phares. You can check me out. You might be listening in your car, and I appreciate that if you're listening on the radio in your car. But you could also be watching, not in your car. Don't do this in your car, but you could be watching on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Rumble. I am there, and I'm here to talk with you guys. I see comments coming in right now during the breaks. I will be getting to a lot of those comments, talking to you guys in person. I'm interacting with you in a way you're interacting with me. It's a lot of fun. So definitely go through that. But continuing this Bud Light controversy, some new info has come to light. An ad agency that was kind of an intermediary for Anheuser-Busch is in serious panic mode, as they were the ones that tapped Dylan Mulvaney for Bud Light for the influencer partnership. So this is a pretty new ad agency. It's an 8-year-old marketing firm out of San Francisco, San Woke Cisco, and they were responsible for the Bud Light partnership with Dylan Mulvaney. The disastrous tie-up sent them into, quote, serious panic mode, New York Post reports. Captivate, a San Mateo, California-based firm that pairs social media influencers with major consumer brands, is the outfit that introduced Anheuser-Busch to the 26-year-old transgender Dylan Mulvaney, resulting in the viral TikTok video that has since become a textbook case of marketing gone wrong. Sources close to the situation said. A source came out from Captivate saying that the company is now in serious panic mode and a bunch of confusion, but it even talked about the fact that this could cause a significant amount of controversy beforehand. And this is a pretty new brand. I would be in serious panic mode too if I caused the biggest losses for a major brand in the 21st century because I decided to push such a controversial statement within that. But this all cultivates when an ex-Anheuser-Busch exec this last week revealed how lefty investment firms pressure companies to go woke. And I talked about it a little bit on last week's show. ESG scores, environmental social governance. And I want to be clear that this is exactly what's going on. And it's through some of the largest investment firms that have also the most concentrated amount of money and thus power. In fact, these investment firms even control California's pension system. I'm serious. I'm serious. So I'm going to pull up this video. If you're on Facebook, you can watch it. This was on Waters World this last week. A executive, Phares. This is a 2-minute video. I'll probably stop it somewhere in the middle to make sure that everybody can, that we can kind of go into it a little bit more. But he outlines, and he's a former Anheuser-Busch exec, everybody, and he outlines just why these companies are going woke. So here is that video.
So how does this actually work? These guys are telling the truth?
Jesse, thanks for having me this morning. I mean, here's how it works. It's pretty simple. You just have to follow the money. If you take a look at BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard, they manage $20 trillion worth of capital. But it's not their own money. This is the money of everyday citizens, firefighters, police officers, doctors, who generally have their money either via 401ks or, in a lot of cases, large pension funds. Large pension funds like the state of California, which manages the largest pension fund in the U.S., and the state of New York, and then European pension funds as well. And a lot of the politicians in those states, in California, for example, they recently have mandated those large pension funds that they divest from things like fossil fuels and oil and gas. And when Bill de Blasio, mayor of New York, was there, did the same thing. But they also tell BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard, if they're going to manage their money, they have to commit to things like ESG, diversity, equity, inclusion, that they therefore then force onto all the major companies in corporate America.
So the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, says to a BlackRock, we're not going to send you our $100 billion state pension if you're going to invest in ExxonMobil. We're only going to send it to you guys if you guys are going to invest it in woke companies. And then that's what these places do. They invest it in these woke companies. They make them woker, and then everybody gets paid. You left Anheuser-Busch because of some of these shenanigans. What happened there?
Oh, I left Anheuser-Busch, not necessarily because of Anheuser-Busch, but a lot of other companies. I was living in Atlanta for.
So he goes in, and I'm gonna play it, but he goes in a little bit more on exactly why he left Anheuser-Busch, and I do want to play that for everybody. But I want to start off with, and we're gonna get into this a little bit more in the next section, in the next segment. But to start off, ESG scores, like I said, environmental, social governance, diversity, equity, and inclusion. What these are is these are Marxist Trojan horses so that these large investment firms that in some way control a significant amount of power and money in one of the most concentrated forms are making the decision not in the best interest of finance, but in the best interest of the new world order. They are. And you want to know how I know? Because these BlackRock, Vanguard, they're also tied to the World Economic Forum that talks about the new world order. They don't care about your money. They don't care about the California pension system. What they care about is pushing an agenda that tears apart the social fabric of America. So we're going to get more into this after the break, everybody. We will be right back with more Speechless on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. Okie dokie, everybody. Let's see how we're doing here. I see I'm getting a lot of comments in here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. But yes, as I started at the beginning of the show, I did get a wisdom tooth. If you guys are consistent viewers, last week I did talk about I was getting a wisdom tooth removed. Got it removed last Tuesday, and I was worried that I wasn't going to be here this week, that I wasn't going to be able to be back. But it's been healing up great, and I'm very happy to be back and talking to all of you guys. Let's get to some of your comments. As always, everybody, please like, subscribe, share. But most importantly, leave a comment. I want to know what you guys have to say about the things I'm talking about. I know that some of my content can be, well, if not all of it, is fairly controversial in the things that I say. So much so that last week I had an issue with Facebook trying to take me down. But I am here to talk to you guys. So please always say, let me know what you're thinking in the comment section. You can also, as always, text or call in at 309-451-9299. If you'd like to be a part of the show, I can bring you right on in the phone lines. 309-451-9299 is that number. But let's see what you guys are saying in here. We got Double Brewski. Thank you for joining. Oklahoma Chicken Cam. Thank you. I'd really appreciate it. Howdy from Oklahoma. Howdy from Illinois. Always the Raven. Thank you so much. What's on the apps, peeps? Thank you guys for joining so much. We're gonna keep up with the interaction today. I am pumped, guys. It is Pride Month, and wow, that gives me a lot of content because all these companies are, and not just companies, but celebrities too, are pandering to the LGBTQ alphabet mafia woke mob in ways that we've never seen before. This Pride Month is the most egregious of all. Let's see what else we got down here. Tennessee here, brother. Heck yeah. I actually it's highly likely that within the next few years, I'll be moving to Tennessee. I love Tennessee, beautiful state. And it's where I want to be. Controversial, but the truth. Absolutely, Raven. That's what I'm trying to push here. You know, I'm not trying to lie to you guys. And everything I say here is my opinion. If you want to get full real news, go somewhere else. I'm giving you news, but I'm going to give you my opinion with it too, because that makes it a little entertaining, but also just, I mean, I'm a college kid, you know, my perspective. I'm not necessarily an expert. I don't claim to be an expert, but I see it how a lot of other people see it. And that's what I've come to know. And I want to be the voice for as many people as possible, in speaking truth to that power. So we got about another 15 seconds here. Then we're going to come back and we're going to see just why this Anheuser-Busch guy left the company. We're going to start off with that. Okay, coming back here. We are back with Speechless on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. I'm your host, Kev Phares. And wow, so I got a wisdom tooth removed last Tuesday, and I'm still back here talking to you. I'm doing okay. It's a little sore, and after about 2 more hours of talking, I can guarantee you it'll be sore. But while I might have had that wisdom removed, it seems like society has had a lot more wisdom removed than just from a tooth. That is why we have brands like Bud Light who pushed their agenda with Dylan Mulvaney and that influencer program. But now here's the thing is while there was that wisdom was removed from society, the idea that the once great wisdom that men are men and women are women and you can't change that was removed from society. However, there is a wisdom still in society, and that is the people that have decided that Bud Light needs to have some repercussion for its actions. And so I talked about in the last segment a lot about just what happened, just what's been going on even further with the Bud Light controversy. But a big story out of this last week was an ex-Anheuser-Busch executive explained exactly the ESG scores, the DEI, everything that is pushing these companies to become woke. And then he was asked the question about why exactly he left Anheuser-Busch. And so we're going to start off with that clip here. Why did this former executive of Anheuser-Busch leave the company?
Oh, I left Anheuser-Busch, not necessarily because of Anheuser-Busch, but a lot of other companies. I was living in Atlanta, for example, during the 2021 time period, and you had the citizens of Georgia. They voted for representatives to make sure we could have election integrity laws. You have to have an ID to vote. And for that ID to vote, this seemed like it was pretty logical law. I was kind of surprised that Georgia didn't have it. But what was crazy to me was that after the fact, BlackRock came out and they said, we're against this law. We think this is bad for democracy. This is bad for society. And they basically then had companies like Coca-Cola, like Delta, and heck, even Major League Baseball. They canceled an all-star game over this. And when I was seeing this was bad for capital markets because instead of these companies just delivering soft drinks or heck, doing Major League Baseball, they're getting involved in these political issues. That's bad for these companies because they're alienating a lot of their customers, as we're seeing right now with firms like Anheuser-Busch. But frankly, it's bad for democracy. It's bad as well. Citizens should be able to decide these things through free and fair elections, not necessarily with a small group of asset managers and CEOs that are telling individuals how to live their lives.
Yeah, I remember when the left used to hate Wall Street, and now they love Wall Street.
Exactly. I remember when the left Occupy Wall Street used to be such a big deal. And now what's happening? Why is it that I, as a conservative, am the one talking about how awful big business has become? It's because these financial firms, like he said, are getting their hands into political issues that are unpopular among the general public. They're just unpopular. Everybody, we have to take another break here on Cities 92.9. But the thing that we got to remember as we go through this break, if you're listening on the radio, there is a major disconnect between these woke firms, these woke companies, and the American people. I'm serious. I know it might sound like the largest voices are supporting the transgender rights stuff, but they're not. The loudest voices are, but the majority voices are not. And this is where we get into who is speechless. It's statistically provable. Everybody stick around with me after the break to hear all about it. It will blow your mind. We will be right back with more Speechless on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. And we are still live, everybody, as you know, on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Rumble. It's all over the place. And let's get to some of these comments here because the next segment, you guys are going to love it. I'm live on the radio, not live right now, but I am doing my radio show, obviously. So happy to be back. I know that the content that I was pushing this last week was a little lackluster. I was tired. I was drugged up from my wisdom tooth removal, but I'm doing better now. So, what about the kid that got sent home from school because of the shirt that said there's only 2 genders? Yes, actually, I didn't have that planned, but I'm gonna bring that up. Kid, and we're gonna maybe in the next segment I'll be able to get to it. I want to make sure because I believe he like talked to his like school board about this. I think he spoke. Yeah. I want to make sure I get that. There are only 2 gender shirts. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you're just tuning in right now, I am live today in studio. So happy to be back. As always, guys, definitely like, subscribe, and share. And I'm going to keep an eye on your comments. That's why I am looking up and making sure I can find this thing about the boy who got sent home because of his only 2 gender shirt, apparently. Let me see. Let me listen here. Okay, I'm just watching here. Okay. Yeah, we'll talk about that. I think that's a good story. I'm gonna start off with another thing. Gosh, I am not gonna be able to get. I had so many stories and stuff prepped for tonight for today. Thank you guys, Andrea. Thank you for tuning in. Mark, always thank you for tuning in as well. License, good to see you. You guys are awesome. Thank you guys so much for coming. I did a lot of planning for this show. When I'm not doing, obviously, when I was laying in bed, like I said, drugged up after my wisdom tooth surgery, gave me a lot of time to think. And ironically, like I said earlier, while I had my wisdom tooth removed, that did not remove the wisdom from my life because, and I'm only 22. How much wisdom do I really have, right? I don't know. But what I will say is it seems like some people that age themselves over me, Joe Biden, and people like that, Dianne Feinstein, I seem to have a lot more wisdom than them. I at least have a lot more common sense. When did common sense stop being common? No idea. No idea. When did common sense stop being common? Let me know in the comments. When do you guys think common sense stopped being common? Like, give me like a defining event, moment, or day. Yeah, it's not a fun surgery. I still have the cut in my mouth and everything, but we're going to be coming back here in about a minute and a half, everybody. And then we're going to get into the real disconnect between Vanguard and BlackRock and the things that they're pushing and what the American people actually believe. Obama, you think Obama is when common sense stopped being common? Okay. I could see it. I think I'll do another show at some point. When did common sense stop being common? And I'll go through a lot of different ideas that some people have. When did common sense stop being common? Thank you very much, Raven, for the kind words. Let's see. Is anybody commenting here on Rumble? I don't believe so right now. But you guys can always go follow me on Rumble. I am there, and that's where I'll be if I ever get removed from YouTube. I won't have time to go through this story, but you guys see YouTube actually changed their. I think I might have if I have time at the end, I might get back to this on the radio. But YouTube changed its content policy. I'm now allowed on YouTube to discuss widespread election fraud. Beforehand, you're not allowed to. You had to be very careful with what you talked about and how you said it. But now they changed it because of the 2024 election and a lot of conversation about widespread election fraud. So I don't know, kind of a win. I guess YouTube. I mean, I think YouTube still denies that it happened, but they're allowing people to talk about it at least now. Maybe they're getting better. Thank you guys for tuning in. Got feminism because women. I'll get into more of this stuff later. But I'm about to come back on the radio and I got a lot to cover. So let's do this. Hey, welcome back to Speechless on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal, not only on the radio, but I'm also on your app. I could also be on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, or Rumble. You could be watching me on all those right now. You could be watching me. You could see me in my shirt that says Jesus is King to celebrate Pride Month. Because I'm very proud. Proud to be an American. Proud to be a Catholic. Proud to be Irish. I'm proud of a lot of things. But what we have is we have a society that has perversed the entire idea of being proud, because pride is not a virtue, everybody. An overindulgence in pride is a sin. Absolutely. There is a reasonable level of pride, but if you let pride overcome, which many have, it becomes destructive. Interestingly enough, while the loudest voices push the transformer ideology, a new poll actually publicly strongly rejects transgenderism despite corporate pride, despite the fact that all the companies are putting their American Twitters to have rainbow logos and everything. Breitbart reported this last week that Americans are uniting in broad opposition to the transgender ideology, despite a roar of pro-transgenderism rhetoric from Fortune 500 corporations, government officials, and establishment media. 57% of Americans strongly agree that, quote, there are only two genders, male and female, according to a May 23rd through 24th survey of over 1,000 adults by Rasmussen. This is a 14% or 14-point jump from 2019, when only 43%, so less than half, of respondents said they strongly think that there are only two possible gender identities, man or woman. A poll of 1,100 people by the left-wing Public Religion Research Institute found that. Similarly, the Rasmussen poll showed that only 10% of Americans strongly disagree with society's recognition of just the two complementary sexes, male and female. So only 10% of people in America, according to Rasmussen, believe or strongly disagree with the traditional gender binary ideology. Only 10% of people heavily disagree with that. But in 2019, a much higher share, 24% of respondents in the left-wing poll said they strongly think there is a range of many possible gender identities. So it's even lower than that now. So here's what I'm seeing is we have a corporate structure and corporate funders, like I said, and like I continue to say, BlackRock, Vanguard, and the like, that push this diversity, equity, and inclusion, this environmental social governance. They push this stuff, but it is not what the American public wants. And I actually didn't need a poll to teach me this. I didn't need a poll to teach me this. We see it in society. We see Anheuser-Busch getting decimated in boycotts. We see Target now, in just 2 weeks of their controversy, getting decimated in boycotts. And we finally see people standing up, even unlikely heroes. In a speechless highlight, this comes from back in May, but I hear there's still legal battles going on through it, and I just didn't have a chance to cover it. A student claims he was sent home over a shirt that said, quote, there are only two genders. A 12-year-old boy from Massachusetts claimed he was sent home from school a few weeks ago for wearing a t-shirt that declared that there are only two genders, which he was told made other students feel unsafe. Oh, those poor students. Your shirt saying a biological fact makes me feel unsafe. Ah! These crying, whiny liberals. Jeez. But I do have actually the video of this boy, an incredibly brave kid, I might add, going in front of his school board talking about this exact incident. So here is that boy. We're going to split this clip up a little bit so we can play all of it and make sure that we kind of break it down a little bit more. But here is this 12-year-old who was pulled from class for wearing an only two gender shirt, confronting his school board.
Hello. Good evening. My name is Liam Morrison. I'm in the 7th, 10th grade at Nichols Middle School. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you today. I never thought that the shirt I wore to school on March 21st would lead me to speak with you today. On that Tuesday morning, I was taken out of gym class to sit down with two adults for what turned out to be a very uncomfortable talk. I was told that people were complaining about the words on my shirt, that my shirt was making some students feel unsafe. Yes, words on a shirt made people feel unsafe. They told me that I wasn't in trouble, but it sure felt like I was. I told I was told that I would need to remove my shirt before I could return to class. When I nicely told them that I didn't want to do that, they called my father. Thankfully, my dad supported my decisions and came to pick me up. What did my shirt say? 5 simple words. There are only 2 genders.
5 simple words. This kid is so professional. This kid's 12 years old, and he's going up in front of his school board doing what I try to do at 22. He is speaking truth to power, everybody. This kid, honestly, is more brave than 90% of society right now. He is willing to put everything on the line. He was just trying to wear a shirt that said a biological fact to him, and he's going in front of his school board telling them, you're wrong for trying to silence my speech. And he's doing it so professionally, too. Speaking in front of a crowd like that, in front of people that are seen, and it's not a massive crowd, but speaking in front of people that are seen as having a power over you and doing it so professionally. Oh my gosh, we got to keep going with this. This kid is doing such a great job.
Nothing harmful, nothing threatening, just a statement I believe to be a fact. I have been told that my shirt was targeting a protected class. Who is this protected class? Are their feelings more important than my rights? I don't complain when I see
That is the quote right there. Are their feelings more important than my rights? You know, the title of this video today on YouTube and Facebook and everywhere is the removal of wisdom. Because it shouldn't take a 12-year-old to pose a wise question of, are their feelings more important than my rights? It shouldn't take that 12-year-old saying that for that wisdom to be reinserted into society. Because the obvious answer to that question is no. But like I was talking about on the live stream, common sense isn't so common anymore, everybody. Common sense isn't so common. So to some, to the alphabet mafia fascists, their feelings are 100 times more relevant than my rights and more important. Let's keep hearing what more this kid has to say.
pride flags and diversity posters hung throughout the school. Do you know why? Because others have a right to their beliefs just as I do. Not one person, staff, or student told me that they were bothered by what I was wearing. Actually, just the opposite. Several kids told me that they supported my actions and that they wanted one too. I experienced. Wait, no. I was told that the shirt was a disruption to learning. No one got up and stormed out of class. No one burst into tears. I'm sure I would have noticed if they had. I experienced disruptions to my learning every day. Kids acting out in class are a disruption, yet nothing is done. Why do the rules apply to one yet not another? I feel like these adults were telling me that it wasn't okay for me to have an opposing view. Their arguments were weak, in my opinion. I didn't go to school.
This kid is owning these teachers and these school board members. Their arguments were weak, in my opinion. I love that. This is like mini Ben Shapiro. I love this kid. I don't know who he is or where he's. I got to find this kid because I want to get him on the show because he speaks truth to power better than I do, better than most adults I know. Their arguments were weak, in my opinion. Yes, this kid is single-handedly showing everybody how important it is to stand up and say something when the loudest voices might be trying to shout you down. And in fact, this kid, I got to look up exactly how the court proceedings and everything are going for this kid. And there's more to his speech, and we're going to get to it. But clearly, this kid is more than in the right. You want to know how I know? Because so he claims that the reason why he was told to remove it is because it was, quote, a distraction to the classroom. Same arguments were made in a Supreme Court case back in the 70s, maybe it was late 60s, called Tinker v. Des Moines. Tinker v. Des Moines is a Supreme Court case where there were students that wore armbands to school. These armbands had the purpose of protesting the Vietnam War. And this ended up becoming such a big deal. It was very similar in the fact that people were, or that the school tried to take the armbands away, saying you can't wear these at school. They're a distraction in the classroom. Went all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said it is not actively disrupting the classroom. And so the free speech of students must be protected. This is almost no different than that. It's a t-shirt, which is, if anything, even less distracting than an armband. So this kid is constitutionally and judicially in the right. Let's keep listening while we end out this segment. Let's listen to the rest of this boy's speech.
That day to hurt feelings or cause trouble. I have learned a lot from this experience. I learned that a lot of other students share my view. I learned that adults don't always do the right thing or make the right decisions. I know that I have a right to wear a shirt with those 5 words. Even at 12 years old, I have my own political opinions, and I have a right to express those opinions. Even at school, this right is called the First Amendment to the Constitution. My hope in being here tonight is to bring the school committee's attention to this issue. I hope that you will speak up for the rest of us so we can express ourselves without being pulled out of class. Next time, it may not only be me. There might be more students that decide to speak out. Thank you for your time and good night.
Gives him a warning too at the end. He gives him a Constitution lesson by saying, I'm protected by the First Amendment. And then he gives him a warning and says, hey, right now it's just me. But you might have more students that will decide to speak up even further in the future. This kid, I only saw parts of this video before, and then somebody in my comment section brought it up to me. This kid is the definition of bravery in today's world. He is speaking truth to power. He is calling it like he sees it. And he's got more wisdom than the majority of adults, period, nowadays. I have no words. This kid, I think this kid should have his own radio show, honestly, at this point. Let's get him on because he's funny, he's witty, oh my gosh, I'm just so impressed with this. Everybody, I have so much more to cover. Taylor Swift getting called out for not supporting LGBTQ stuff. I thought Taylor Swift was woke as heck. But we're going to cover that in the next segment, the next few segments, everybody. So much more when it comes to Pride Month. Yes, Pride Month. We got so much more to cover with that. But we will be back here covering that on Speechless. And you don't just have to listen to me on your radio. You can if you like to, if you're giving a drive or whatever. I really do appreciate it. But you could also be checking us out. Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Rumble. We're bringing it to you everywhere to make sure that we have the best content, the best conservative news content, speaking truth to power content in Central Illinois. Heck, maybe even in the Midwest. Maybe even in the whole country. Now, we're not quite the Daily Wire yet, but we're working our way there. So please, everybody, tune in to more Speechless after the break on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. Okie dokie. Let's get to some of these comments. Again, thank you guys for tuning in. You guys are the best, and I hope I'm bringing you guys stories and entertaining stuff that you guys like. Let's see what else we got here. Absolutely. Young man gives me hope for my grandchildren, all 19 of them. Wow, 19 grandchildren. Congratulations, first off, Mark, on having 19 grandchildren. That's a lot. I'll see what I can do about getting, I don't know. I don't know how easy it is to contact a 12-year-old. And in fact, for the most part, if a 22-year-old boy was looking, or man was looking to have a phone call with a 12-year-old boy, I'd be very concerned about what the circumstances of that were. But in this context, it makes sense. So, I'll see what I can do. This is true. This is just like the young man with the Native American who was hassled, who hassled the kid of the MAGA hat. Yeah, that was, oh my God, that Christian school at that pro-life rally in DC. Yes, I do remember that. That was back when I was in high school. Thank you guys for tuning in on everywhere. Thank you, Check Cash David, for being here. Appreciate it. We were eating and listening. Thank you so much. I appreciate your support. You're the best. You guys are all the best. And I love that you guys are listening to me on your Sunday afternoon. And I'm sure it's beautiful wherever you are. And I really appreciate it. My Andreas and my Ravens, Mark, Unconventional One. You guys are all great. Even my one viewer on Twitch right now. I got a few viewers on Rumble. If you guys are on Rumble, I am checking consistently to see if I got any comments there. Feel free to hit me up on there too. I'm keeping an eye on everything you guys say. Good. Not one teenager buys in the woke crowd. That's the thing. Is you got to be so careful. Like my kids, I went to public school, right? And there was a lot of woke crap that got pushed in my public school. My kids will be going to private school, if not homeschooled, when I have them. Because the way public schools are going is they are not places of education. Go back to Pink Floyd, another brick in the wall. We don't need no education. We don't need no mind control. Hey, teacher, leave those kids alone. That's how I see it. That's how that song is relevant today, even more than it was back then. I know, Raven. I was being funny earlier. I was just being funny, but yes, that's what I'll probably try to do. I'll see what could happen with that. Almost 60. Oh, thank you, Next Exit. I really appreciate you watching and interacting with the show too, because that's just as important, right? I appreciate watchers and listeners, everything like that, but interacting with the show too. Like, subscribe, share, comment. You guys make the content what it really is. I mean, like, Raven brought up that video that covered an entire segment for me, right? That covered an entire segment of my radio show. I wasn't even something I had planned. I have a lot planned, and I'm always planned, but that covered a lot more. So. Yep. Homeschooled and you're content with that. Absolutely. Absolutely. I encourage it nowadays. There's things I've heard. Maybe I'll try to reach out to one and get them on so that I can have the conversation and learn more about it. But I have heard of instances in which there are people that that they like come together. They're like a group of parents that want to homeschool, but like obviously some of them still want to work and everything too. And so they come together and they like kind of form their own homeschool. I don't know exactly what it's called, but yep. That's definitely an idea as well. All right. Well, I got about 30 more seconds before I go back live on air, everybody. Leave those kids alone. Song's stuck in my head now. We'll be back soon, though, everybody, with more Speechless. Thank you guys for tuning in, and you can check out my Twitter, my Instagram. Obviously, most of you, I think, are watching on YouTube, but make sure you're liked and subscribed to the channel and share it with your friends, family, everybody. I want to keep boosting that subscriber. I want to eventually, obviously, be able to. And I know I've had some great listeners that have donated or supported the show. Through my Venmo and my Cash App, and you guys are awesome, but I also want to make money from the ad revenue too at some point. So let's come back here for this last short segment. And we are back with Speechless on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. We are coming to the end of this first hour of the show. But I have a lot more. It is Pride Month, everybody, and there's so many stories to cover. I'm also going to get a little bit into Joe Biden falling again. Yeah, he fell again, if you didn't already hear. So I'm gonna play that video on our Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Rumble. And we'll make sure everybody can hear and see how Trump reacted to that too. I'm gonna get to all that in the next hour. But to end out this one, I want to be clear, abundantly clear about when I talk about Pride Month and when I talk about pride. I am not talking about all LGBTQ plus people. I'm not trying to go after individuals. I do not see the pride movement as being reflective of the entire gay, lesbian, whatever community. The pride movement is a neo-Marxist, LGBTQ centered fascist movement that started off by saying, let us do what we want in the privacy of our own homes, which is something most people can get behind. Most people can get behind back a little over a decade ago. Sure, get married, do what you want behind closed doors. Just don't push it on me. And we gave that inch. But now it has become, I want to walk down the street half naked and you must accept me. And not only that, I also want your kids to come to my shows where I cross dress and perform sexually explicit dances. And along with that, I want to teach your kids about gay sex in the classroom. That's what the Pride movement has become. And it's advocating for no limits on sexuality, period, in the public sphere. When I go in on Pride, when I go in and say that this movement is disastrous for society, I'm not talking about every gay person. I'm not even talking about every person who supports Pride. I'm talking about the overarching messages that have seeped and slithered their way into our public life that make it so that nothing can be sacred anymore. Nothing can be open for parenting and for individuals to choose what happens with their children. It's no longer let me do what I want to behind closed doors. It's now I want to do everything out in the open. And if you criticize me for it, you're a homophobic, transphobic, bigot, awful person. That's what it has become. You give an inch and they take a mile. Here's the end of the story right now. We're going to get into more of these Pride stories in the next hour. And all month, we're going to cover it. Because they want to talk about it. They want it to be at the forefront. We're going to make sure it's at the forefront. But the real end of the story here is I'm not against gay people. I have qualms with the transgender ideology. But we have equality in America. In America, there is no right that is afforded to me as a straight man that is not afforded to someone else as a gay, lesbian, or trans person. I looked, I double checked, I read the Constitution, gave it another peruse today. There's no right. And if you find one, let me know. Text call in 309-451-9299. Let me know. Shoot me an email, speechlesskp@gmail.com. Shoot me an email. Let me know what right is afforded to straight people that is not afforded to gay, lesbian, trans people. The Pride movement, as it started, has achieved its goal. And that's why they keep looking for more things to beg society for and to assert their agenda further. What you really should do if you're a part of the Pride movement, if you really want to embrace gay equality across the country or across the world, is go to a Pride parade in Iraq or Iran or the Middle East, in Afghanistan. Go to a Pride parade over there. See what happens. I'm curious. Will you be met as kindly as you are in America? I don't think so. I don't think so. Everybody, we have more Speechless coming up after the break. Please, please, please stick around. More stories to come. Taylor Swift speaks out in Chicago as she destroys Soldier Field. We're going to talk about all that and more on more Speechless on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. Okay. Let's see what we got going on in here in the comments. I also got texters to the radio station. Let's see what. Yeah, nothing of value. Okay. Yes, I hope to make you guys laugh. I know I really don't consider myself to be a particularly funny person. I'm pretty serious on a lot of issues. But I just think that I just think a lot of society is stupid and I call it out. And I just call things like I see it. So I'm happy I made you laugh on Unconventional. I really appreciate it. Let's see what else we got here in the comment section. As always, guys, please, please, please comment. I love to see what you guys have to say. Your interaction means a lot to me. Because like I always say, the show isn't just about me. It's and sharing my opinion. It's about making sure that everybody's heard and that we can have honest conversations about things. That would not happen in the Middle East. You're right. They would probably be stoned, and not in the way that a lot of people like to get stoned in America. It'd be the bad kind of stoning. This is the most important thing. And I'll probably cover it a little bit more in the next hour too. But being lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer is one right as an American. Yes. You have a right to kind of identify how you want to identify. You have a right to have the sexuality that you want. It is not, however, their right to force their agenda on me and make me, I think it meant accept them. You're right. Here's the biggest thing is, so they always want to, the thing is that they claim that we do with religion what they do with the pride movement. They claim that, oh man, you want to have under God in the Pledge of Allegiance? You're forcing religion down my throat. Okay. What about the fact that you're teaching kids about anal sex in the classroom? Who's forcing an agenda down whose throat? Me saying under God in the Pledge of Allegiance? Or you having pornographic books in your elementary school libraries? Who's forcing the agenda? Who is pushing that? No, the biggest problem is that we have no longer understood the word tolerance in society. Everybody pushes for acceptance of everything. You have to accept everything. I have to accept the pride movement. I have to accept that men can be women and women can become men. I don't have to accept any of that. You don't have to accept that I'm a Catholic. I don't care. You don't have to accept that. We no longer preach tolerance. Tolerance, I think, is great. Tolerance is, you have your lifestyle, I have mine. We can coexist, but just let's try to push our disagreements aside when necessary. No, that's not allowed anymore. You're not allowed to agree to disagree anymore. You have to follow a specific agenda and a specific narrative. And if you don't, you got to be cast aside. You're called every label under the sun. You're racist, bigot, homophobe, transphobe, ableist, all that crap. To the point of which those words have no meaning anymore. Those words mean nothing anymore, everybody. So call me a racist. Call me a transphobe. I'm not afraid of trans people. I've talked to trans people. I've had great conversations with them. And we found ways to agree to disagree respectfully. But the overall narrative is that you can't agree to disagree anymore. Let's see what else we got going on in here. Thank you guys for tuning in to Speechless on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, Rumble, all over the place. I am still on a break. It's one of my longer breaks from the radio, but I'm still obviously talking to you guys. I'm checking out, seeing if there's anything on Rumble too. Always checking there. I see you got a few people watching there. Thank you guys for checking me out on Rumble. You're a real trooper. Rumble's not the easiest to set up and be a part of, but we're going to keep going here, see what else everybody's saying in the comments section. I don't force anybody to be a part of my church. Exactly. You don't force them. You don't have to force them. People that want to find Jesus will do so on their own. That's actually something I was talking with my mom about today. I talk to my mom every day. Well, at least once a day, I call my mom, sometimes twice. I love my mom. She's probably not watching right now. She's got better things to do. but I'm not making fun of you guys, but no, she's very, very busy woman. But I was talking to her, and I was talking to her about losing weight, going to church, quitting an addiction. Like if you're an alcoholic or you smoke cigarettes or whatever. Nobody will do that when they're forced to. Nobody will make changes in their life for the better when they're forced to. They have to come to their own conclusion that this is what's good for me. This is what I want to do. I have an affliction. I have an addiction. I have an issue. And I need to change that. And the same thing's true for a lot of these agendas. Nobody's going to accept you or not accept you, accept the pride movement when all you do is tell me what an awful person I am for not accepting it. People will make changes in their life when they come to the conclusion that that's what's best for them. So that's what I think is super important is people will make changes when they see that's what's best for them, not when anybody else tries to tell them what to do. Hey, Bloomington Normal, and welcome back to Speechless on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal, entering into the second hour here of my favorite radio show, and I hope yours too. Thank you guys for tuning in. I am your host, Kev Phares, talking about all things Pride Month today, and we're going to get to a few other stories in the end of the hour, like how Joe Biden fell, and apparently it's a sandbag's fault, not a lack of physical ability. We'll get into all that, but I want to start off this hour with more things about Pride Month. I want to be clear too. Again, I think I oftentimes get angry. These kinds of subjects make me angry. A lot of me on this show is just me being angry. But I want to also make sure that we approach these when we have a subtext to the conversation that these issues need to be taken with empathy, right? When I talk about the Pride movement, I'm not talking about anybody individually. I'm not talking about the whole gay community. They're not equivalent. What we need to ensure is that when it comes to the individuals, I have no hate in my heart for anybody struggling with their sexuality, anybody who is struggling with a gender dysphoria crisis. I have no hate in my heart for anybody like that. Nor am I afraid. I'm not a transphobe. I'm not afraid of anybody who is going through those kinds of things. What I do think is, first off, and there's a great comment here on YouTube, we are commanded to love our neighbor as ourselves. I will not, however, entertain delusions. And that's exactly what I'm saying. I want to help everybody that has a mental health issue. Gender dysphoria being one that is, unfortunately, and Jordan Peterson had a whole thing about this today that I thought was great. Gender affirming care is one of the most destructive phrases currently being used in the English language. Because the only way to affirm gender is to tell somebody the truth that if you were born a man, you are a man. And if you were born a woman, you are a woman. Now, and I was just talking about this, kind of brings a lot of things full circle. I was talking about during the break on YouTube, Facebook, everywhere, that people will only make a change when they come to that conclusion on their own. They will make a change for their life the better when they come to that conclusion on their own. But what shouldn't be done. So like, let's say for sake of the argument, let's say somebody's trying to quit smoking. If somebody's trying to quit smoking, no matter how many times you tell them what you're doing is bad for your health, you're going to get lung cancer. Your lungs are going to fill up with tar. You're smoking packs a day. Like it's so bad for you. They're not going to stop until they come to the conclusion that smoking is bad for me. It's having negative effects on my health, and I need to do something about it. On the inverse, though, they're also never going to come to that conclusion if you continuously tell them, you can smoke as much as you want. You're going to be just fine. You're going to be great. You're like, smoke, indulge yourself. You're going to be perfectly fine. You're not going to get sick. You're going to live forever. In fact, those cigarettes you smoke, they actually are great for your health. Now, this is exactly like the transgender movement as it is right now. We have people that have mental illness, gender dysphoria, and we have a portion of the population that says you need to tell them that they are what they believe they are. They think they're a woman because they think that, because they feel that, because they say that. Tell them. It's just like the person who says you're going to be fine if you keep smoking. You're enabling destructive behavior, self-destructive behavior. And we need to have a society that says, hey, hold on a second. Let's have empathy for this person, a little bit of tough love, and say, let's get to the root of why you feel that way. Because in reality, if you're grounded in reality, just because you feel like a woman doesn't make you a woman. Having two X chromosomes makes you a woman. Being an adult biologically female human makes you a woman. So let's, instead of enabling bad behavior, let's push people in the right direction, but hopefully push them to come to conclusions on their own that are good for them, good for their health, and good for the sake of truth and reality. Moving on a little bit more, I want to get into this op-ed that came out a few weeks ago from The Guardian on May 19th. It's called Speak Now, Why Pop Stars Must Do More to Defend LGBTQ plus Fans. It's by Jeffrey Ingold, and he's basically calling out Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift has flagged her sympathies with this community, so why is her Eras Tour visiting U.S. states enacting repressive laws without comment? So I'm not gonna read the whole thing, but I'm gonna highlight some of the biggest parts. This person says, look what an overly aggressive security guard made Taylor Swift do over the weekend. This is a few weeks ago. The singer won praise for calling out a guard mid-performance who was being rough with a female fan. However, as a queer Swiftie, I can't help but wish she would channel that same energy and her enormous platform into denouncing the record number of anti-LGBTQ plus laws being introduced across the U.S. Since starting in March, Swift's Eras Tour has taken her to numerous states that have ushered in some of the most extreme anti-LGBTQ bills in decades, including Florida, Tennessee, and Texas. Yet the singer has stayed silent. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Her not saying anything is awful. It's violence. That's what this sounds like to me. It's because she hasn't said anything, she's bad, and she needs to use her platform to push a political agenda. She can't just sing songs and be entertaining. No, she's got to push a political agenda. For some, Swift's silence undermines or at least draws into question the flurry of LGBTQ plus advocacy she embarked on in 2019. After a gay friend helped Taylor realize her position on LGBTQ plus rights wasn't, quote, clear enough or loud enough, she came out swinging for the gays. Close to 1 million people signed her petition in support of the Equality Act. She brought drag queens on stage with her at major award shows and also made enormous donations to LGBTQ charities such as GLAAD and Tennessee Equality Project. She also released the homophobe-bashing single, You Need to Calm Down. Though perhaps erasing that from our collective memory would be more of a win for the LGBTQ rights. This goes on a lot more, saying that asking questions like, do we expect them to understand and respond to all hot button issues going around in the world? Which countries is it okay for them to perform in? Now more than ever, these are valid questions to ask of pop stars. Major pop tours are water cooler events akin to sports games. It's understandable that many stars are wary about speaking out, particularly when on stage. Audiences have come for a show, not a political rally. And that's the only sentence in this entire op-ed, as I read it, that's important to read, that I actually think is smart and intelligent. It's understandable that many stars are wary about speaking out, particularly when on stage. Audiences have come for a show, not a political rally. Audiences have come for a show, not a political rally. Now, the author of this should keep reading that again and again and again and again, because audiences have come for a show, not a political rally. But alas, Taylor Swift came to Chicago this last week and gave people the political rally. Yes, she did. And so I'm gonna try to bring up that video right now. She gave everybody that political rally, and a lot of people did not like it nor wanted to hear about it, but she still gave it anyways. And so we're going to play this video of Taylor Swift in Chicago, giving everybody the political rally that nobody wanted. I'm sorry, on YouTube, I want to make sure everybody can see it. So I'm pausing real quick to make sure I'm sharing my screen so everybody on YouTube can see this as well.
The most beautiful experience for me to look out into the crowds on this tour. I'm looking out tonight, I'm seeing so many incredible, just individuals who are living authentically and beautifully, and this is a safe space for you. This is a celebratory space for you.
I'm feeling this is my first Taylor Swift.
And one of the things that makes me feel so powerful is getting to be with you and watching you interact with each other, being so loving and so thoughtful and so
Did you
caring.
notice the game?
And so being with you during Pride Month, getting to sing the words to "You Need to Calm Down," where there are lyrics like, "Can you just not step on his gown?" or "Shade never made anybody less gay," and you guys are screaming those lyrics.
Shut up, Taylor.
In such solidarity, in such support of one another, in such encouraging, beautiful acceptance and peace and safety. And I wish that every place was safe and beautiful for people in the LGBTQ community. I really wish that.
Yeah, so she goes on even more. I wish that everywhere and then she goes on to say things like, we can't talk about Pride Month without talking about pain. There have been so many harmful pieces of legislation that have put people in LGBTQ and queer communities at risk. Okay, so here's the biggest thing to talk about with this as we wrap up this segment. First thing, Taylor Swift is actually a genius. Here's why. What Taylor Swift did is she went to all the states, Florida, Texas, Tennessee, all the places that have put in what is deemed anti-LGBT. It's really anti-groomer legislation. They put in anti-groomer legislation, and she didn't talk about any of it. And some people started noticing this. Some people started noticing that she hadn't, and then it was the LGBTQ people that were like, hey, she's not talking about it. She's not talking about it. We need to be like, why isn't she being loud enough? She's got to say something. She's got to say something. She went through all those states and never said a thing. You want to know why? Because people in those states didn't want to hear it. People that went to her shows in those states, for a lot of them, were like, that's not what they like. The article said. They want a show, not a political rally. And then she comes up to Chicago, which is known to be a relatively gay-friendly city in Illinois, a very progressive state. She comes up to Chicago, and then she denounces the anti-LGBTQ legislation. She says, I'm so happy to be here with you this Pride Month and support the gay community. Now she'll speak out. Taylor Swift is a genius, everybody. Now, she might personally actually care about the LGBTQ agenda, stuff like that. She might. But you could tell that it's still a lot more about the money for her and about the press. Because when she was in those southern states, she wouldn't touch those issues with a 12-foot pole. So much so that people even started writing about it. But now, she will come out when she's in Chicago for multiple nights in Chicago and talk about the LGBTQ movement. I gotta say, applause for Taylor. But at the same time, I also think women, especially because you're the main audience base of this, boycott Taylor Swift. Honestly, I've never, I mean, her old music is okay, her old country stuff, but then she abandoned country music and sold out for pop, which I've never been a big fan of, period. But I mean, she's flat out come out and pushed a political agenda. She did it in 2018 in the primaries, came out and said awful things about the gubernatorial and Senate candidates in the Tennessee primaries, Republicans, and then also consistently endorses Democrats, pushes LGBTQ stuff. I wish that women would boycott Taylor Swift as much as they boycott Target. Why not? Yes, Taylor Swift is in some way a brand genius in the fact that she was able to avoid the issues when she was in the states that didn't want to hear about it, but now talks about it and now can be the queer icon for coming out and saying something when she's in Chicago, one of the most like LGBTQ ally places. Of course, now she'll talk about it. Now, boycott Taylor Swift and to the wolves, to the wolves with her. Honestly, I don't care. All she cares about is money, anyways. So much more to talk about, including the Dodgers dodging or attempting to dodge, failing to dodge more controversy regarding the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, a Catholic group launching a Hide the Pride initiative. Lizzo saying she's close to quitting music over comments about her body. Please do. And Biden falling on stage. Everybody, we got so much more to cover here. Please stay tuned for more Speechless. We got to take a break on the radio, but we'll be back with more Speechless. And you can also check me out on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Rumble. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment, interact with me. I want to know what you guys have to say about all these issues. We'll be back with more Speechless on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. Okay, I am still live. I got to take a second for my voice. Starting to get strained here. Take some water here. Okay, during this break, I'm going to scoot back, sit down for a sec. Getting heated here, everybody. See what you guys are saying. I'm going through all the comments here. It's been a little bit since that was a big segment there. Biden is just a mess, absolutely. We're going to get more into that. I'm going to keep going down here. What do you get when Taylor Trucking and Swift Transportation merge? Taylor Swift Transport. That's funny. Oh, I did hear about this. Yep. I did hear about that. Jeff Dunham. He is hilarious. And yeah, he was asked, and he was even, but if anything, actually, I actually saw the special where he did it in the Middle East, and the people loved it. They thought it was hilarious. And this is honestly like a big thing is like when people claim that certain things are offensive, like Aunt Jemima or Uncle Ben and his rice and the Land O'Lakes person, people say, "Oh, it's offensive. We need to like take it off. We can't have that." If anything, a lot of times people from those identity groups actually like it. It's like it might be a little bit of a caricature, but it's in a way a type of representation. Metal fan yourself? Yes, I like me some metal. I'm usually a little softer metal, but let's keep going in here. End of June will be interesting. Yes, all of June will be interesting. We're gonna keep going with it. I have some guests that I think I'm gonna try to bring in. So thank you very much. I appreciate you for all the kind comments. As always, guys, please text or call in at 309-451-9299. I did see that Nexit did earlier text in, and thank you for texting in. You guys can always text or call in there, be a part of the show yourself. I also just recommend liking, subscribing, sharing in every way that you can. We are on a break from the radio right now if you're just tuning in, but don't worry, we will be back. We got more coming, and I'm looking Rumble. I still don't see any comments on there, but I see that there are people watching. So thank you guys for tuning in there. I also have like one consistent viewer on Twitch. Thank you for watching. You're awesome. Lizzo joke. I made a Lizzo action figure by stretching a thong over a bowling ball and gluing Ninja Turtle arms and legs to it. That's funny. That's funny. I see you, Hope. I pin it. I don't actually have, I'm streaming through a streaming service right now, so I don't have the YouTube one open right now. So I don't think I can pin anything unless I went into all the YouTube stuff, but I got to focus on producing everything else. But I do appreciate that joke. I think it's funny. Likes to it. That's funny. Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about Lizzo in the next segment, along with some other things. All right, we're coming back. And we are back with Speechless on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. Not just on Cities 92.9, I'm also on your app, or I could be on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Rumble, everywhere. Everybody, let's get ready to Rumble. Yes, I am on Rumble, if that's where you want to get your content. And we're just talking about a lot of different things here today. Mainly a lot of pride stuff, but I was talking about Taylor Swift in the last segment. And that got me thinking about a story I read this week that I just think was really funny. Lizzo, you guys know Lizzo, the rapper that got famous for pushing a body positivity message because she's quite literally grossly obese. She says according out of the Daily Wire, and there's a lot of news places reporting this. I just got the Daily Wire article pulled up. Lizzo says she's close to, quote, quitting music over comments about her body. To which I replied, Lizzo, I didn't know you ever started making music because every time I hear your songs, my ears bleed. That was a joke. I'm kind of bad at those. But Lizzo says she's considering quitting the music business because of negative comments about her body. The 35-year-old musician shared a screenshot of a critical message she received and included a caption saying, quote, I just logged on and the app and this is the type of that word I see on me about it on a daily basis. It's really starting to make me hate the world, Lizzo continued. Then someone in the comments said, I eat lots of fast food. I literally stopped eating fast food years ago. I'm tired of explaining myself all the time, and I just want to get on this app without seeing my name in some bull crap. Lizzo also set her tweets to protected so they can only be viewed by followers. The love definitely does not outweigh the hate on social media, all because I'm fat, she wrote in a follow-up, following by a message that said, y'all don't know how close I be to giving up on everyone and quitting and enjoying my money and my man and on a effing farm. I literally never search my name. This stuff just comes up on my For You page. It's wild. I swear I just want to look at dance videos and science news, and this crap comes in every day. All right, so she basically just keeps going on rants about how she's mad that people are calling her fat, and people say somewhat mean things about her on the internet and about her weight. Sweetheart, welcome to the world of being in any way a public figure. Like literally Jimmy Fallon has, and I know a lot of people don't watch late night stuff. I watch clips sometimes because I think some of it's a little funny. The funniest stuff I ever see on Jimmy Fallon is he brings on celebrities to read mean tweets about them. And most of them make little to no sense. Lizzo, you made a crap ton of your brand. That was close. Lizzo, you make a crap ton of your brand about how you are a large person and how you are big. And yet you say that you don't want people to comment on that and that you're going to quit music because people do. You became famous not because your music was particularly revolutionary. You became famous because some people saw that you were moderately talented and you were very confident in your body, and that fit the narrative that people want, that you can be whatever you want to be and you're beautiful no matter what. Newsflash, you're not beautiful no matter what. No, there is objective standards of beauty, and I don't even match all of them. I won't get up here and tell you guys I'm the most handsome guy in the world. I could stand to lose a few pounds. So deal with it or quit. Do what you want, Lizzo. I don't care. If you want to quit music, go for it. It wouldn't be any skin off my back. But don't make your brand about your body and then tell people not to comment on your body. You're oxymoronic at that point. Let's move on back to some of the pride stuff. There was a text that we got in during David Paul Blumenstein's show. Oh, okay. Well, I have to get to a break real quick. Yeah, I wasn't watching my time, but we'll get to it. I'll tease it. There was a text I got during David Paul Blumenstein's show saying that all we do is whine. I just whine. All David does is whine. We never actually propose any policy or what you should do. Well, first off, that's false. But in the next segment, I'm going to be clear to you that there's some things that I think are good that we can do about the pride movement. And so that's what I'm going to say. And that's what I'm going to talk about. A Catholic group launched a Hide the Pride, encouraging parents to reclaim libraries from, quote, the radical rainbow cult. More on that in the next segment. And on pride, we will be right back with more Speechless on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. And we are back into the comments section. Thank you guys so much for tuning in as always. Really appreciate it. Body positivity. Your body tested positive for heart disease. That's a good one. I like that. That was funny. And I appreciated it. You want body positivity, Lizzo? Enjoy the heart disease and diabetes, high blood pressure, etc. Yeah. Seriously. Look, I try to be nice. Like, I don't think it's necessary to just like go in on somebody on their weight all the time. Like I get struggling with weight. I recently had been going, I had gained about 15, 20 pounds and once I had quit the majority of my nicotine use. And so I replaced a lot of that with eating and I gained like 15, 20 pounds. And more recently, I started losing weight again because I focused on it. And I was like, you know what? I'm not happy with the weight I'm at and I want to gain some more muscle. And I want to lose weight. It's like I said earlier, I came to that decision on my own that I needed to be healthier and I did it. And yeah, some people mentioned to me that they had noticed that I'd be getting bigger. Did it make me happy? Not necessarily, but like they weren't wrong. They weren't lying. Andrea, I think this is really an important point. It's about respect, right? You respect because Raven made a comment about that there's certain parts of himself that he's like, I'm a little bigger and everything. And he says, I'm autistic, but I don't care. A lot of things, right? But it's about respect, right? Like that's really where it's at is we should respect people. Absolutely. But if you're going to make a brand out of saying, look how big I am, I'm beautiful, I'm big, I'm beautiful, I'm healthy. If anything, being fat is healthy. That's literally something that people were saying about Lizzo, that she was saying. I'm healthy, I'm healthy, I'm healthy. No, there's no way that being that size is healthy. Not period. Period. And so, yes, respect people. It's a lot about respect. But that doesn't mean that it's, again, tolerance and respect. It doesn't mean we have to accept. Love thy neighbor, but call out delusion. Hate the sin, not the sinner. A lot of things I keep saying. Okay, we're going to come back. I got a few more stories. I'm hoping I can get through as much as I can before the end of this show. Gosh, I still had so much more to get to. I'll probably just record some cut for time videos tomorrow. I'll do some cut for time videos because I had a lot of stories for today. So if there's anything that I talked about in any teasers that I didn't get to, I'm sorry, but there will be a video on my YouTube about that at some point with the other things that I had planned for today. This is a good one. It's good. Let's see how long her man sticks around once the money starts to go. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Okay, we will be coming back here in about a minute and a half. I'm going to keep going through you guys' comments here. See, I love that you guys are so great for interacting. I really do appreciate it. And everybody on Rumble that's watching right now, you guys are awesome too. I'm on a break right now from the radio, but I will be back. And so I just live stream if you're a first time watcher. First off, like, subscribe, share, follow, comment. You guys are the best. I love all of you for doing that. But also I'm a college kid that live streams my radio show and then I make a little bit of off-air content too. And so obviously I'm on a break from the radio right now. They're playing the ads and everything. And I'm here still talking to you guys. So we'll talk. We'll keep talking. But I can't do all my content. I got to make sure that I have a lot of my content on air. Absolutely. Thank you, Check Cash David. You're awesome. I really appreciate it. We will be back here in about 15, 20 seconds. Cover this next story. Thank you guys for tuning in to Speechless. A few more seconds, then we'll be back again. Guess who's back, back again, again. Kevin's back. Shh, tell your friends. Guess who's back? Yeah. Oh, we're coming. Hey, and welcome back to Speechless on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. A little less conversation, a lot more action. You might not be able to hear that on YouTube and everything, but you can hear it on the radio. And that's my bumper music, because in this next segment, we're going to talk about ways that people are taking action when it comes to getting away from the pride narrative, right? The pride narrative that's being pushed. Again, to be clear, this is not all, when it comes to pride, I'm not talking about all LGBTQ people, everybody that's lesbian, gay, whatever. There's plenty of people out there that you don't even know are gay because they don't make it the forefront of their entire personality. And those people, great people. I met a lot of them, great people, love them to death. But the pride movement pushes that not only do you have to coexist with the LGBTQ people, which is something that I support, coexisting and loving thy neighbor and respecting people and hate the sin, not the sinner kind of ideology. But what I take issue with is when the pride movement consistently tries to force it down everybody's throat, period. And they do this through drag queen story hours at the libraries. They do this by pushing, quote unquote, not so gay agendas in Disney films and other kids' content, by trying to make it so that young kids can start gender transition without parental consent. Real things people are trying to do. But a Catholic group launched a Hide the Pride, encouraging parents to reclaim libraries from the radical rainbow cult. That's what it said. So Catholic Vote, which is a great organization. I myself am an Irish Catholic, so I'm a little bit biased towards the Catholics, but Catholic Vote's Brian Birch says sexual content for kids under the guise of gay pride has become acceptable political propaganda in public libraries. One of the largest Catholic advocacy groups in the nation is encouraging parents and concerned citizens to remove sexualized books for children at their local libraries, arguing taxpayer-funded institutions shouldn't provide pornography to children. Catholic Vote launched its second annual, quote, Hide the Pride event June 1st, to coincide with libraries and businesses across the country prominently displaying rainbow flags and pro-LGBTQ content for Gay Pride Month. Fox News Digital previously reported how dozens of libraries in blue states have ramped up pride celebrations and content for children this year. Hide the Pride instructs parents to sign a letter explaining why they object to these books. Empty the Pride book displays, check the books out, and then leave the letter with a librarian. Catholic Vote provides a sample letter to print and a lengthy list of children's books centered on sexuality and gender identity. The group's president, Brian Birch, told Fox News Digital the movement is intended to rally parents, people of faith, and concerned Americans to, quote, push back against this assault on childhood innocence. He said, I think it's getting bigger because people are more aware of the ways in which this gay rights push is pushing parents and public spaces much further than they previously had. Further, we wouldn't use libraries sorry, I want to make sure I'm at the right point here. The backlash against woke companies shows Christians, quote, that they don't have to sit down and surrender to the radical rainbow cult, said a Catholic Vote communications director. The group's president said libraries weren't representing their communities or taxpayers when they pushed divisive politics on gender and sexuality. Quote, we wouldn't use libraries for any other big political propaganda effort. We don't do it on abortion. We don't do it on immigration. But somehow this has become this acceptable political propaganda scheme, and especially for children where it's the most inappropriate. And I think that's honestly a very valid point and a question that's worth asking. Why is it that public institutions, now some do push propaganda for abortion, immigration, all that other stuff, but libraries especially, they won't push nearly as much propaganda when it comes to those leftist agenda talking points, but they are very ardent on pushing the LGBTQ propaganda. They have books that are labeled for children that are sexually explicit. They have drag queen story hours. It's perverse and pushes and again, under the guise of gay rights. That's what they say. It's a Trojan horse, everybody. It's a propaganda Trojan horse in which they say, it's just gay rights, everybody. We just want gay rights. We just want gay rights. But then come in and destroy childhood innocence. And thank God. So to the people that ask, well, like you guys just all you do is complain. You never offer anything. Well, this is a great example of something that you should do. Go in, write a letter to your public library, check out all the books and make it so that they can't be seen anymore. Great stuff. And I see a comment here. It's a total political grift at the expense and innocence of children. Absolutely. And a lot of it, when it comes to the trans stuff, is about pushing a medical industrial complex. It's a medical industrial complex that gets kids, young kids, hooked on pills and surgeries for their entire life and treatments to embrace a lie that they could change their gender. That's what it is. Moving on to another instance of a Catholic standing up and speaking out. You guys might have heard the LA Dodgers were steeped in controversy recently when they announced that they were going to have a Pride Night. And at the Pride Night, they were going to honor local LGBTQ heroes, right? LGBTQ heroes. One of those groups that was invited originally was the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. Basically, this group is a group of gay individuals, LGBTQ members, that dress up like nuns as parody to Catholics. They oftentimes push blasphemous and grotesquely offensive performances that make fun of the entire Catholic faith in an attempt to try to be edgy against faith that says that being gay is a sin. Well, Dodgers Blake Trinan blasts the organization for honoring the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. Originally, these people were invited, and then some complained. They got uninvited. But then the Alphabet Mafia came after the Dodgers and said, no. You have to bring them in. Now you have to give them an award. But a Dodgers player, Blake Trinan, came out and released a statement that disagreed and put the Dodgers franchise on blast. Currently, Trinan is serving 60 days IL as he continues to recover from a shoulder injury. But he was joined by another starter, Clayton Kershaw, as members of the organization who disapproved of the decision to add the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence back to their Pride Night event after previously removing the group. So he pushed out. Here's one thing that I actually really admire is so Blake did not push out his own statement. He didn't come out with a video. He didn't try to make a massive political statement. He came out through Sean Fucht, who is a Christian rock star, and released a statement through him. And so I'm going to read that statement because I think it's respectful. I think it stays within his purview as a member of the team. And so here it starts off with, I am disappointed to see the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence being honored as heroes at Dodger Stadium. Many of their performances are blasphemous, and their work only displays hate and mockery of Catholics and the Christian faith. I understand that playing baseball is a privilege and not a right. My convictions in Jesus Christ will always come first. Since I've been with the Dodgers, they have been at the forefront of supporting a wide variety of groups. However, inviting the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence to perform disenfranchises a large community and promotes hate of Christians and people of faith. This single event alienates the fans and supporters of the Dodgers, Major League Baseball, and professional sports. People like baseball for its entertainment value and competition. The fans do not want propaganda or politics forced on them. The debacle with Bud Light and Target should be a warning to companies and professional sports to stay true to the brand and leave the propaganda and politics off the field. I believe Jesus Christ died on the cross for my sins. I believe the word of God is true. And in Galatians 6:7, it says, do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows. This group, the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, openly mocks Jesus Christ, the cornerstone of my faith. And I want to make it clear that I do not agree with nor support the decision of the Dodgers to, quote, honor the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. Then he ends with, but as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Joshua 24:15. That's Blake Trinan, a member of the Dodgers, who is speaking out against the organization inviting a blasphemous group to their Pride Night and to honor them. You know, this is great. And you want to know why? So I oftentimes talk about, like I said earlier, Taylor Swift, just sing. You don't need to push a political agenda. People don't want a political rally. They want a show. I say LeBron James. I don't want to hear about your political opinion. I want to watch basketball. Now, why is this different? Because I'm sure lefties are saying, well, you don't like when other celebrities and professional athletes come out and say their political opinion. He didn't want to share his political opinion. This guy, Blake, did not want to come out and have to and try to push an agenda onto everybody. He came out and respectfully said, I love playing baseball, and the fans love watching me and my teammates play baseball. They want us to stay away from politics. I am getting involved because this decision directly affects me and disrespects me as an individual. He didn't want to have to come out and share his political opinion, but he felt like he had to because the Dodgers already decided to take a stance on something politically. They already decided to. Everybody, that's starting to wrap up a lot of my Pride Month content for today. I did promise, though, that we would talk about Joe Biden falling. And so take this as a metaphor. We've talked a lot about pride, and pride comes before the fall. So everybody, in the next segment, we're going to talk all about Joe Biden falling to end up the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. We will be back with more Speechless on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. Okay. Let's see what you guys are saying. We got a little bit more time left in the show. Thank you guys again for tuning in. I always appreciate it. Make sure I have everything ready for Joe Biden falling. Whew. 2 hours is a long time, but I appreciate you guys tuning in with me and learning with me. That's really what it's all about, too. We're learning together. Okay. It's all good that you'd step away for a second. I totally get it, especially if your mom called. Like I said, I talk to my mom every day. I love my mama. Yep, I did. You guys, like I said, this show is not just about me, right? This is a collective. Like, we are in this together. The culture war that we are in, is not about me. It's not about specific pundits, talking heads. I am here as a conduit. I'm here as somebody. I will share my opinion, obviously, and I'll always stay true to my opinion, but it's a way for our voice, not just my voice, our voices to get out and be heard by the masses and by a lot more people. Look, in like 2 months, I've already been able to grow my subscribership to like 420 something people. It's because of you, right? Because many of you are subscribing. You're definitely part of that, however many. But it's also because of you, because you guys help make the content what it is. You guys are the best. You guys tune in, you interact, and you guys are fun. So, and definitely, yeah, let me know what you guys are doing when you're listening and watching, because I'm always curious. Listening on my deck, eating a salad, I finished planting the rest of my flowers today. Congratulations. I hope I'm sure your flowers are very pretty. I ordered yes, MRM, my good buddy Ty Smith. I produce his show a lot. I don't know if you have watched me when I've been on his show before, producing when he's on the radio. But yes, he's a good buddy and I love him. Okay, I need to check. I had Amazon packages that were supposed to be delivered today. Everybody, so I play guitar and I needed new strings for my guitar. So I ordered new strings. And so I have new strings. So I have new strings that are supposed to be coming in the mail today, so I can get those. That's one thing I was going to ask you guys. I got some buddies who they do music production and stuff, and I'm a very, very amateur musician in my side, like as a hobby. Would you guys be interested if I did like live streams doing jam sessions with people and stuff like that? I don't know. It's mainly like country music is what I listen to and play. But if you guys are interested, I might start doing some live streams where I get into music a lot more outside of just the politics. Kind of drown out the noise with some music, you know? I like to do that. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. But we'll be back soon here to finish out the show with Biden falling. This is an absolutely amazing point. Check cash, David. This is an amazing point. We have people that, I mean, nobody's kind anymore. Like, what happened to the golden rule? Treat others how you want to be treated. They even teach that anymore? I doubt it. Maybe in between telling them to pick their gender, they may say it in like kindergarten. I don't know. Awesome. Yes, I see you guys do seem very interested in seeing some of that stuff. So I will I'll see what I can do. I got to make sure I have their equipment for it, like the microphones and stuff, because there's different microphones to pick up different like instruments and singing and stuff. So we'll figure it out. We'll do something. Absolutely. We'll be back soon here. A few more minutes. Okay, my package is going to be delivered between 5 and 7. My new guitar strings, so I can replace the strings on my guitar. Okay, then we're going to come back soon here, talk about Biden's fall after the Pride. Thank you guys so much for tuning in on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, and Rumble. You guys are awesome. Love you guys. Okay. About 20 seconds, 10 seconds till I'm back. And we are back with Speechless on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. I'm your host, Kev Phares. And, you know, you like I always say, you might be listening on your radio. And if you're driving, that's the best option. Radio or app. Don't want to distract you too much. But if you're sitting at home and you're looking for something to do, you could be logging in on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Rumble, and you could be watching me there and interacting with me through the comment section. But if you don't want to interact through that way, you can always text or call in at 309-451-9299. In the most of the show, the last hour and 45 minutes, I've been talking about Pride and Pride Month and just a bunch of different stories that have to do with the pushing of the Pride agenda. But what comes before or what comes after Pride? The fall. And so we're going to talk about the big fall that Joe Biden had this last week. I've got a video pulled up. I'm going to play it on Facebook, YouTube, everywhere like that. But I'm going to talk about, I'm going to outline it too for everybody listening on the radio. Here is Biden's fall that happened this last week at the Air Force Academy graduation. So he's shaking hands with somebody. And then he falls onto the ground. He falls onto the ground. He gets picked back up. And then he points down and says something about there was something there. So if you look over here, though, it's claimed that there was a sandbag that tripped him. Now, I'm clicking through here on Facebook to try to show I do not see a sandbag anywhere around that area. Maybe it's hidden. Maybe I can't see it. I'd like to think that they wouldn't lie, but nonetheless, this is just a continuous incident after incident after incident, showing how Joe Biden does not appear to be particularly strong as a president. Because then even when he gets up and he points down at the ground, it almost looks like he's like, who put that there? Like as if he's like kind of whining about it. I don't know. I don't know everything that was said. I don't know all of that. But what I do know is Donald Trump came back out afterwards. He was asked about it like the day of. What did he think? And I thought he had a hilarious response. So we're going to play that video now. We're going to play it on the air and everywhere so you can hear just how Donald Trump responded. Because, and you guys know, Donald Trump, not necessarily for me, 2024. I got my opinions, but man, this guy, he just knows, he knows often how to respond to interesting questions such as this. So here is that video.
He's at the Air Force Academy. He actually fell down. Well, I hope he wasn't hurt. I hope he wasn't hurt.
I hope he wasn't hurt.
But it's the whole thing is, look, the whole thing is crazy. You got to be careful about that. You got to be careful about that because you don't want that. Even if you have to tiptoe down a ramp, you got to
even if you have to tiptoe down a ramp, obviously
He's
he
at the Air
is
Force.
bringing back into the, when he was at a military graduation, I believe, and he was kind of tiptoeing down a ramp. And I remember liberals went after him at that time, claiming that, oh man, he's physically unfit. He can't be in office. He's obviously so unhealthy because he's walking like that and he can't even walk down a ramp. Oh my gosh, you can't even walk down a ramp. Yeah, remember when the liberals went after him? But now all the liberals are saying, don't make fun of Biden. It was a sandbag that tripped him. It was a sandbag. That's liberal privilege, everybody. And that's the double standard, right? That's the double standard that we have. So when Trump was in office, the littlest thing. Oh, he's unfit for office. He's unfit for office. Biden can't remember where he is half the time. And he trips and falls, and he himself just looks like a frail, weak, confused old man. And it's sad. It's sad that we have an entire wing of the country that continuously puts him into the limelight as if he's like this stellar image of strength. He's not. Anybody who thinks that he is the image of strength is lying to themselves and to you. Joe Biden doesn't look strong. He doesn't look strong on the world stage. Doesn't look strong on the Air Force stage when he trips. And it's a reality that I think the Democrats should really realize. Look, I obviously have my opinions on Joe Biden, and I've been adamantly clear I am by no means currently a Democrat. But Democrats need to be honest with themselves. Right now, from what I hear, there's not going to be Democratic debates against Joe Biden. Nobody's going to go up on this stage against Joe Biden for the DNC. Is that really who you want to be representing your party? Is that really who you want, Democrats? Hiding Biden? Man that doesn't know where he is? Person that is arguably, and I'd say it's a pretty easy argument, but somebody who's mentally and physically unfit to be in office. Just saying. Just saying. Think about it, Democrats. Think about it. Everybody, we will be back next week with more Speechless on Cities 92.9. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm your host, Kev Phares. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share on YouTube, Facebook, everywhere. We will be back next week again. Thank you for listening. Okay, guys, I'm wrapping up here on the live stream. Thank you again for tuning in. You guys are the best. Again, don't forget to like, subscribe, share. I'm going to be cutting this one up. I think this was probably one of my best shows I've ever had, and it's all because you guys decided to tune in, and you're so great. And I love you all. Thank you so much. I'll be back next week, and I'll have some more videos posted throughout this week that have other stories that I wasn't able to get to during the show, all my cut for time stuff. Thank you guys so much. Again, I can't say it enough. God bless you. Have a wonderful week, and God bless America.